Since that call, all my career started with Juventus. There's a moment that you need to attack, you need to score a goal, because you need to approach the opportunity, because the goal is in front of you. So you go there and you go forward without fear, because it's gonna be your moment. The same is in life. Don't care about if your team is winning or losing. Care about if your son is learning during the trainings. And if you focus always on winning, then the kid is not gonna get better.
How can a lawyer be involved in a footballer's career?
When you are talking about a soccer player, soccer company, and a structure, you need to talk about also values, you need to talk about sacrifice, and obviously you need to talk about knowledge.
You mentioned that when you're running your events or your camps or your training sessions, the kids fall in love.
You are a person, you're not a soccer player. You need to put the player and the person completely aside by each other. They are two separate things.
How important is what your social media or the things you're saying or the contract?
Because that's another very important thing, and I think this is something that you need to apply in life in general.
Being an entrepreneur in soccer, what advice do you have for someone that wants to start a business in football?
There's a moment that maybe you are building a beautiful project and you say, this is the moment I need to go and present it to my boss. And like I say, the most important thing for soccer in a business, also the sports in general, is the charisma, is to be charming and is caring about people.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Select Generation podcast. Been doing a couple of these podcasts on a regular basis recently and we're getting really good feedback from you guys. As always, if there's topics you want to know about that we're not really talking about and discussing, just shoot me a message. You can either DM the Instagram page or myself. But yeah, I'm excited to talk today in today's episode. It's a little bit different in terms of the role of the guest that we've got today. A lot of the times we've had coaches, players, agents. Today we've got someone a little bit different who's kind of organizing events in the US or North America. So I'm excited today to talk to Jesus Marin. He's the director of Juventus events in North America, if that's correct. He can obviously correct me if I'm wrong.
Correct.
But yeah, today we're just going to talk about football, his experience, his story, and get his perspective on how to be successful and kind of know a bit about what he's doing and Juventus are doing. So Jesus, I appreciate your time today. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
For someone who's listening to this and is intrigued and wants to know about you, who are you? What's your role? What's your story?
Yeah, well, thank you so much for the invitation. I really appreciate it. And hi to everyone. My story is a little bit, has a lot of mixes because I born in Venezuela. My father is Cuban. My mom, she has family from Spain, also from Italy. So I grew up with a lot of culture, and I love it because it helps me to grow, to have, many visions of life. I started playing soccer since I was very young. I didn't play professional. I just was like in the youth academy, the youth sector. I was a goalkeeper, actually. And I love it. But also, since I was a kid, I always loved to study. So in a certain point of my life, when I was playing soccer, if I knew that I didn't was good enough to become a professional player, I knew that I could be like a good student, in the university. So then, when I was 70 years old, that I finished, let's say, my career in soccer in the youth academy, I started studying law, and then I became a lawyer. But I always have this passion for soccer. So in a certain point of my life, I always wanted to mix the law or maybe the studies in general with the soccer, because I think it has a lot of things in common. I think when you are talking about a soccer player, soccer company, and a structure, you need to talk about also values, you need to talk about sacrifice, and obviously you need to talk about knowledge. So I think in a certain point, if I was able to bring knowledge to the soccer community or sports community in general, I think that was my mission.
Got you. So when you say you were studying law, were you just studying law in general, or was it like a specific type of law?
I started first law in general, and then I started mastering copyright law.
Okay. What's copyright law?
Copyright law is about the patents. When you go and register the name or a product
Like
in
a
a
trade,
specific...
like a trademark.
Correct.
Okay.
So then you are not allowed to use it in another product or brand, So it's copyright. It's about protect, the rights of the product you are building.
So for someone that is listening to this, that is wondering why we're talking, how has this got to do with soccer? You're a lawyer. You're talking about trademarks and patents. Your role right now with Juventus is, well, or what's your role with Juventus?
Well, my role with Juventus, I do many stuff. Like I started with Juventus on 2020. I received a call because when I was young, I did a camp of Juventus. I think I was 13 or 14 years old. Life is crazy because I did a camp and then I became organizing the camps for Juventus when I grew up, you know. So I did a camp in Sestriere. This is a small town in the north of Torino. And this was an amazing opportunity for me. I love it. The coaches, they were amazing, Italian coaches, and I enjoy a lot. But since I was a kid, I was able to, make connection with people, talk with people, very fluent and very open, One of the coaches that was in that camp, this was 14, 15, 16 years ago, he grew in positions with Juventus, and I was a very good friend, of him. And when I came to this country, then I started looking like maybe some opportunities to, collaborate with the community, to the sports environment. And then I text this coach, and he put me in contact with Juventus Academy Miami because I didn't knew that there was a Juventus Academy Miami. And then since that call, all my career started with Juventus. So I focus all my energy in the structure of the academy here in Miami. And then we start organizing events around all United States, Canada, and Mexico. We started with Mexico the last year. This is going to be our second year, but with United States, we have been organizing events from the past 5 or 4 years. Mm-hmm. And then we are starting also with Canada. That is one of our goals for this year.
So when you say events, do you mean you put on like a big tournament, a showcase? Do you just do like a 1 week camp? Like what is a
1 week, correct. It's about camps. It's about also clinics. And sometimes we organize a kind of tournaments.
Got you. So why did you do that? Because we do a lot of stuff in Europe too. And there's like this big stereotype that like, oh, Europe is so much better than America with soccer, the coaches, and all of the Americans are like, oh, I need to go to Europe to get all the coaching. So I guess you bring the Italian coaches here.
Correct.
Why do you do that? Why do you find success with that?
Well, basically, one of the reasons why we organize these events and the camps is to bring the opportunity to the kids to be coached by Italian staff, Italian people, that they train with Juventus. They are part of the Juventus Academy. So they have a completely different approach when you talk about coaching, when you talk about tactics and technique. And when the kids, they go and they try these trainings, they fall in love. They love it, and they can see the difference. So our mission is to show everybody what is the Juventus methodology.
What is the Juventus methodology?
The Juventus methodology focus in the individual, on the player. We don't care about the results when you talk about the youth sector. We don't care if you are winning 7-0, if you're winning 3-2, if you are losing 3-0, if you are tying 1-1. We don't care about the results. What we want, and we are always putting all our energy in this, is that you focus on the individual. Technique first, and then tactic.
So for someone that's listening to this that is like, I'm losing 3-0, 4-0, and I like, because I'm sure a lot of the kids, they lose and they feel like they're not learning, they're not developing, they're not getting better. Why is your methodology like that? Because there's a lot of stereotype around like winning, you need to win to be better. Like the results is kind of the proof that you're developing. So for someone that doesn't agree with that or doesn't understand what you're explaining, why is that your methodology?
Yes, that is a very good question, and sometimes it's hard for people to understand it. But the results, in terms of the score, doesn't give you the opportunity to be a better player. What gives you the opportunity to be a better player is if each game that you play, each day, you do a better pass, you do a better control, you are more focused on during the game, reading the game. So we try to explain to the players in our academy and the players that they also attend to our events is that the individual is the one who needs to grow. It's not the team. Soccer, obviously, is when you are becoming professional, you are talking about a team. But if you are doing good, if you are doing better passes than your teammates, if you are scoring a bunch of goals, or if you are defending well, who's going to a better team? Is going the team or is going the player? So it's always the player who's growing. It's always the player who needs to focus on himself. So when I see players that or parents they have a lot of frustration about the results, I just always tell them that don't care about if your team is winning or losing. Care about if your son is learning during the trainings. Care about if your son is reading better the game, and care about if your son is enjoying. If you don't enjoy and the kid doesn't enjoy,
You're never going to get better.
you're never gonna get better. So the frustration, that is one of the big, you know, troubles in this country. The pressure that the parents they put over the kids when they are playing soccer. You can see even parents doing coach sidelines, giving instructions to the team. And we don't allow that in the academy, in Juventus Academy. Even I can tell you, the less the coach speak during a game, when you are playing a game, a competitive game, is the best. Because if you need to always be screaming to the kids, telling them what they need to do, how they need to control, who they need to pass, that means that you are not doing a good job. It's like when you go to the university or you go to the school, the professor is not going to tell you how much is 2 plus 2. You need to do it by yourself. The moment to do it by yourself is the game. So here, mostly in Miami, and I see it also in a bunch of parts of the United States, I can see parents telling the kids what they need to do during a game. Oh, pass the ball, go forward, kick the ball up. The coach also the same. Sometimes you can give instructions, but if you go too much, that means the kid is not learning. And that everything is about the results, because giving a lot of instructions, putting pressure on the kids, is just because you want to win. And if you focus always on winning, then the kid is not going to get better.
So you mentioned that when you're running your events or your camps or your training sessions, the kids fall in love. What's different about your sessions than the sessions that they usually receive in America?
Juventus has a very, very well organized structure regarding the training guide. So all this came from Italy. So what we do is that we divide the training in topics. So we have technical part, we have coordination skills, we have tactical part, and then obviously we have situational. So what we do is that we create stations for the kids with the Italian coaches, and they start doing rotation. So they have the opportunity for 6 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours to do a very well organized topic training that is completely different one from other one. So when they finish the training, they understand, oh, I did coordination with the ball, without the ball. I need to know my body first. I use the ball. So we focus on that first. Then when I am not using the ball, when I am using the ball, how I do coordination, how I move my body with the ball. Then when I'm doing technique, how I need to control the ball, how I need to pass the ball, how I need to move. There's, a lot of points in the technique part. Then you're going to the tactical. If I am doing a 1v1, if I am doing a 2v1.
I'm sure that's the biggest thing, right? Is the tactical thing for the kids.
The tactical, is very challenging. But I'm going to tell you something. I think the biggest challenge here in the United States is not the tactic, is the technique. I see a lack of knowledge regarding the technique exercise, because I think the US Soccer Federation, they're doing a good job, but they focus too much on the tactical part, and the players, they need to be technique, and you need to get better on the technique.
This is interesting because I've been saying a lot about like the tactical. I mean, I agree that they need to get better at technique, but in my opinion, or what I've been saying recently, is like tactically that in the US, or the players that I go and watch, they don't know how to press. The striker presses and the winger isn't following up, or the back four is not flat, or the winger doesn't know to overlap or underlap. And I think for the most of the players that I speak to, they're like, Sam, I just did 100 kick-ups today. I just went to the wall and passed against the wall for an hour. I went through cones for an hour today. I'm like, that's great. How much video did you watch tactically? Do you know if you need to press, if you need to drop, if you need to sit off, if you need to check in? So I'm not saying I disagree with you, but I want to know, why do you think that technique is the thing that US kids need to work on more than tactical?
Because mostly when they are younger, like when they are 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, I will say also 12 years old, is the most important moment for these kids to get better on the technique. Because when you are 13 and 14 years old, I'm not saying that you can get better on the technique because it's a lie. You can, but you're going to struggle more. So you need to focus when you are young to get better, how to control the ball, how I need to open my body, the gestures that I need to do. And then when they are growing and they are 12, 13, 15 years old, then you can focus more on the tactic. And I see a lack of knowledge in this in United States because coaches here in Miami and also in other parts of the United States, they don't do technical exercise, and the kids they need to do this technical exercise.
What do they do then?
They do more games.
They just play 11v11.
Just play 11 versus 11, or maybe do some situational 1v1, 2v2. I'm not saying that is bad, but you need also to give the whole vision to the kid, because if the kid is going very well in a 1v1 situation or 2v1, he knows when to pass the ball, to have numerical superiority. But then the kid, when he receives the ball, he doesn't know how to control it, or he control it very open, not going to the goal, or maybe he doesn't know how to cross it, where to hit the ball, then you're going to struggle.
So someone that's listening to this, that listened to the intro and listened to your background and thinks, wait, but Jesus is a lawyer or he's the director of the academy. What is your soccer background in terms of coaching? Do you have license? Did you study soccer? What is your soccer background in terms of coaching?
Correct. So like I told you, I organize a bunch of stuff, for Juventus, and my mission in life, I will say that is connect, the law and also the studies in general, as I told you, with the sports, not just in soccer, also in general, the sports, because I think sports, they give values to the community. So I think it's fundamental. But obviously I study also soccer. I have the C national license. I'm about to start the B national license. I did also some courses as a scouting, and obviously I always getting better, and studying about soccer, because soccer is updating every day. It's like the law is like a math. It's like science. You have something new to learn every day. So I also, a part of organized events during the morning and the afternoon. I also, during the evening, I coach. So I have always two or one teams that I coach, because I love to be, part of the life of these kids. Because then when you arrive home, you start thinking not just what you did in the morning, like with who I talk about, doing a partnership in a specific city. You start thinking about, oh, this kid was very happy, or this kid is getting better, or this kid gave me a hug when the training finished. So that was makes you very happy,
When you bring coaches from Italy here, what do they say about the players that they're coaching?
Oh, that's a very, very, very good question. I don't know why, but it depends about also the city.
Yeah.
So we organize events like in 18, 19 cities in the United States. So when they go to cities like Atlanta, Dallas, Chicago, they say that the level is very, very good. But the kids, they need to get better on the technique. They always say that. But when you go to maybe smaller cities, I would say like McAllen, El Paso in Texas, Elkhart in Indiana, because we organize events also in these small towns, because nobody has been there before. So the kids, they are happy to see the Juventus jersey, They see the coaches that the kids, they are very good playing. Like the kids, when you do a 11 versus 11 game, or 7v7 or 9v9, depending the age, they say the players are amazing doing the game, communicating with the teammates, trying to score or defending. But when you do the situational 1v1, 2v2, 3v2, or also you do the technique, they cannot do it very well. But why? Because you can see that the coaches, they focus more playing games during the training.
What do you think that that's a problem in the US in general?
I think playing the game is a very important part of the training in general, because it's the most similar thing that you're gonna then face during the weekend. But I think also you need to bring some specific knowledge to every player in a specific. I know saying like if your session is 1 hour and 30 minutes, you cannot do 1 hour playing. You can do 30 minutes, 40 minutes playing, and then the other part you can focus maybe doing some technical exercise, maybe doing some tactical exercise, and of course in the beginning, if you can, you also start with some coordination skills.
Why do you think that coaches in the US don't do that?
Because it's part also of the methodology of U.S. Soccer Federation. They focus a lot on the playing the game because they think it's the best way to learn. You play, train, and play. So I think it's not wrong completely. I think it has a reason.
But you need variation and different, yeah.
But they need to do some variations. Like for example, I remember when I did my C license, I did it in Jacksonville. My professor, he was amazing, 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 and a lot of knowledge. He's from New Jersey. I did something different in my license. I did that technical exercise. I didn't do that tactical exercise. And everybody was like, "Oh, what is this? Is new." I remember I did that shooting exercise. But what I did, it was a 20 minutes exercise of controlling the ball, passing the ball to my teammate, and then shooting. These 20 minutes, I do variations. The first 10 minutes, it was two lines. You do it first with your left and then with the right. And then after 10 minutes, what I did, I incorporate a defender. And when they received the ball, there was coming this defender that passed the ball first to the pressure of the kid. This is part of tactical. You're doing 1v1. You are teaching situational stuff. So I showed to this professor and also the coaches that were attending the course that you can mix both, and then you can give a better training to the kid, and they can know that it's important, the technique, the tactical, and also playing. You can mix it everything just in one exercise.
If someone came to you and was like, Jesus, like I'm really enjoying your coaching. I think you're a really good coach. Why are you a good coach? Like, what do you think brings you success as a football coach?
Well, I will say, and I think this is the most important thing for a coach, and also I apply when I organize events and I do like the business part. I think the most important thing is the charisma. You need to have charisma when you're talking with the players.
What do you mean by that?
I think you need to be charming. You need to understand them. You need to put in their shoes.
Like have a good connection with them?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's the most important thing. You can be the most incredible coach in terms of knowledge, but if you don't have charisma, if you're not charming, and if you don't put in the place of the players in the head, you try to understand them, you're trying to be on their side, then you're not going to be successful. And I think that is my strong point, that I was trying to make a connection with the person, because that's another very important thing. And I think this is something that you need to apply in life in general. You are a person. You're not a soccer player. You need to put the player and the person completely aside by each other. They are two separate things. So I focus first to develop a relationship with the person, and then I start doing the relationship with the soccer player. So when a player, for example, is in the bench, obviously they feel frustrated, but then they are going to play. Then they are going to have the opportunity to show themselves. But I'm trying to make him or her to understand that it's not the person who's on the bench. It's the soccer player for so many reasons, and then it's going to be your opportunity to show yourself. Obviously, when you're talking about the youth sector, every kid deserves to play the same amount, I will say, because it's the only way you can get better, having time to play. But you need to make them understand that you don't have any kind of a specific problem with them. It's just about tactical and soccer issues,
Good.
So that's what I always tell the coaches. Our academy focus on develop a relationship with the people, with the person, and also with the parents, and then you start with the
Awesome.
With the soccer player.
Good, Jesus, good. And then I wanted to talk a little bit about like your role as a lawyer too, because I've recently been working with a lot. We've been working with a lot of lawyers for Select Generation, like players going internationally, domestic players, agents, contracts, etc. And I think I want to touch on it too because I feel like sports law is really important, and I think a lot of people need to understand the importance of it so they don't get screwed over, and because there's a lot of people involved in football that can screw you over. So for someone that's listening to this that maybe doesn't understand the importance of like contracts, laws, or they're like, oh, I thought contracts and lawyers was just for, I don't know, building a house or buying a house or medicine or medical. How is the relationship between sports and soccer specifically? How can a lawyer be involved in a footballer's career?
Well, you have a lot of stuff to do, like as you say in contracts. Everything that you do in soccer when you arrive to a professional level, everything goes under a contract. You need to analyze every detail, and also when you are part of a professional team, you need to follow certain rules. Rule as a player and rule as a part of the team, because I think nobody saw, for example, I'm going to make an example, Gianluigi Buffon saying in a conference that when he was the captain of Juventus, that he was the fan of AC Milan, that he's not. Make an example, AC Milan is going to win the title. People think that the players, they just speak like that, all in general, like very, professional, like very, no showing emotions. But that is also part of contracts, of terms that you sign with the club, the way you need to act, because then you're gonna have a problem.
Yeah, I want to talk about this because people listening to this might be like, oh, I'm never gonna play in Serie A with Buffon. But for me, for example, like even if you're playing recreational level, even if you're playing in an academy, it's so important what you post on social media. For example, like it's not the same as speaking in an interview in front of a million people, but you're showing things that could come up later down the line. And even just like your personal brand, like you shouldn't be posting going to parties, going out. You should be posting soccer stuff. And okay, if you're on holiday with your family, or if you're with your friend, like when I was 16, 17, I was posting stuff that now I would be embarrassed to post. But I want to talk to you about this too, because for example, for the players that you're dealing with at the Juventus Academy, how important is like what your social media or the things you're saying or the contract?
Absolutely. Obviously, you need to follow a certain standards. When it's the youth sector, I will say we are not that aggressive with that, because at the end they are kids and they need to enjoy. But I would say if you are willing to pursue a professional pathway as a soccer player, you always need to be careful where you're posting or your social media, because it's what you are showing the people what you're doing, and you need to be always being seen as a professional, as a very good guy or a very good girl, that you are working hard, that you're doing your best to be successful in your dreams. And also, that I was also thinking, law has so much to do with soccer in general. And talking about social media, there's a bunch of rules for the professional teams when they are doing the social media, posting something regarding the brands, the sponsor, Adidas, Nike, Puma. There's a bunch of law involved in all of that. Like, I think I never saw Cristiano Ronaldo wearing Adidas shoes, for example. So when people think about it, they think, oh no, it's just because he doesn't. It's not that he just don't like it.
He can't by law.
He can't by law, and there's a bunch of agreements talking about that. So law has a lot to do with soccer, and I think law, in a certain point, is helping the soccer to become a more safe environment for the players and the clubs. I remember a few years ago, the soccer players, they were treated as an object in the clubs. If you wanted to move from, I don't know, Genoa to Napoli, the president of Napoli was the one deciding if you can leave or not. That completely changed a few years ago, because the law, because the people, they fight for it, and at the end, I think it has a lot to do. The law and soccer.
What do you enjoy most about the law aspect of the game?
I would say
because a lot of people
talking.
Because a lot of people might be like, I would never be a lawyer. You have to study so much paperwork, going through all of this. And I'm assuming that you love it. You love looking at every single word and making sure everything is legit and plausible and makes sense. So for someone listening to this, like, I would hate to be a lawyer. That would be so boring. What's enjoyable about it?
I will say the most thing the thing that I most enjoy talking about, the law career, I would say is talking to people. When you study law, obviously you need to do public speech, public relationships. Obviously, that's fundamental. So when you put these things together and you go to the soccer environment, you can be very successful. You you can create relationships in. I make you an example. With the city of a specific area to developing a soccer program, you can make an agreement with another club, maybe in another area, to create a program for the kids. You can, read about the rules that you need to follow when you are, there's rules when the kids they are playing in a league. Like I make an example, the Miami-Dade Soccer League, the South Florida Soccer League, the EDP. They have rules when you are playing a game, youth academy game. Like I make an example, bring the documents to the game, the roster, the passes. If there's a problem between the referee and the coach who needs to be, solved, with who you need to communicate if something happen. There's a bunch of rules that people they think they don't exist and they exist. If there's an accident, how to proceed, who's responsible for that accident, is the city because the game is playing in a park, or is the club that has the license to manage the park. There's a it's crazy. You became crazy with that.
For someone that's listening to this that thinks I can't afford a lawyer, I'm just trying to think in my head of like someone listening to this that might be like, I got really screwed over by a club, or I paid the fees and they didn't let me play, or I don't know, just something with law, but they're like, I'm not going to take the club or the coach to court because I can't afford it. But it's written in their contract and they're figuring it out. How does like an average soccer player, is it worth it, like taking action? Do you just kind of forget about it? Does it depend on the situation? Like if I wanted to take action in soccer and press a charge, how would I do it? Not because if you're talking about like Chelsea, Juventus, Real Madrid, of course they have massive lawyers and they can afford it, whatever. But someone that plays ECNL, MLS Next, this type of level, how do I get involved with that if I feel like I've been unfairly treated?
I will say it depends about the situation, because if the situation is not that big enough, I never gonna advise you to go to court because you're gonna lose your time, and also it's very expensive, you know. But obviously, if you have a situation that is very very bad, that you didn't find any solution, that can be an option, and there's a rule specific that how you need to proceed in this matter, with who you need to go against with, and obviously always, take a very good lawyer, a family lawyer, or whatever you have to run, this case and get a result. But I think my first advice is always trying to resolve the problem with the people that you're having the problem with. Because if you're going to court, it's going to take forever. And also, like I told you, you spend a lot of money and it can take years. Years. And that is not something about soccer. It's about the law in general. In general, So I will always recommend to go for the friendly way. Good. Always. And I think in a certain point, there's some situation that you can talk with people. But I always think there's a very small percentage, a possibility that you can get in agreement with someone that you're having a problem with. Okay. It just depends how you approach the situation, how you talk with people. We need to came back again with the charisma. If you have charisma, if you're charming, if you care about people, I think you can be able to resolve the situation without going to court or any kind of big situation of problem.
Okay, good. That's really good advice. Okay, Jesus, and I wanted to talk about your like the business side or the like director side of Juventus. Would you consider yourself an entrepreneur?
Yes, absolutely.
Would you consider and why would you consider yourself an entrepreneur? Like, how is being an entrepreneur in soccer?
I will say finding business opportunities, but not because the money. It's because the kids. It's because the opportunity to bring the kids a program, an experience that they cannot go or have the opportunity to live here in the United States. So when I say that I feel myself an entrepreneur, I will say that it's because I find these opportunities to create programs, to create events for the soccer community, and also willing to make grow these events or this
Yeah,
business that you
because
create for
I
kids.
want to talk about this. I think it's important because since I've started Select Generation, I've had a lot of like negative feedback, like oh, money grab. Like there's an agent. I was working with this agency. They charged me this amount, and I didn't get anything from them. I went to this camp, and it was this much, and I didn't get anything out of it. It was rubbish. And I think that the agencies and the events that stick around, I think it's because they're doing something correct. You know, I think it's because they're doing the right things. I think all the agent, like I swear, I talk about this every week. I feel like one of my friends starts an agency every week, or I see a newer soccer camp every week. And I think that the ones that start it just for the money, those are the ones that fail. And
Absolutely.
the agencies fail like every week. And it's interesting. I was speaking to another agent who has a really successful agency. He's been doing it for like 5 years. And he said he started it because he wanted to give opportunities to the players. And I think for us, our story is kind of similar. Like I wasn't good enough to be a pro. I didn't want to coach, but I had a lot of connections, and I had a lot of kids asking me for help, and I was like, okay, this is how it works. And then you kind of realize as you can get better players, as you can grow, then that's where you're going to find success. So I wanted to ask you at Juventus for your events, because you've been doing it now well for a few years, I assume. Why is Juventus still around? Why did Juventus not run a camp one summer and it failed? Why are you successful?
Yeah, that's an incredible question. It's a very good one, and I would love to explain it. Not just the events, also the academy. Here in Miami, we have been for the past 14 years,
Okay, well,
and we have more than 2,500 kids. So when you compare our success with other academies that has been in Miami from the past 30, 25 years, we have been doing amazing. And it's because we care about the kids, and we are bringing the methodology from a club that has been established from the past 130 years. And the most important thing for the academy and also the bands is that we are not represented by one person. It's the organization. I make you an example. When you're going to Juventus Academy in Miami, or you're trying to play in the club, we never say who's going to be the coach until the first day of the practice, or maybe 1 week before the season starts. Why we do that? And we always do that from the past 14 years, because there's players in another academies or parents that they are just willing to go to that team or that club if there's a specific coach, or if there is a specific teammate. For us, for Juventus, we never care about one people representing the whole academy, or one people attracting the players. It's not about that. It's about that you trust the organization, you trust the structure, and you trust the philosophy. And the events happen the same. When we organize an event, a camp, and maybe the camp doesn't have high numbers, it doesn't mean we're going to cancel the city. We're going to go to the city, and we're going to bring the opportunity to the players, because there's going to be one player that is going to go for free to Italy. What's going to say that player when he come back to the United States after the trip to Italy, playing you in the Juventus Academy over there? He's going to talk beautiful about us. He's going to talk beautiful about Juventus. That's what really matters. And every city we go, we always repeat it. Make you an example. Atlanta is a city that we has been organizing events from the past 4 years. The last year we reached out more than 220 players in 1 week. McAllen, a city that nobody knows, because it's the truth. Nobody knows. McAllen is the border between United States and Mexico. Super small, has 300,000 people. Very small. One of the best cities we have. More than 150 kids per year. And you don't have idea how happy the kids they are. How happy the kids they are. And we are willing also to give opportunities to these kids in McAllen, because it's a city that is small. So maybe some parents, they can't afford it. We give scholarships, and we give the opportunity to these kids to enjoy the Juventus methodology and the event. So it's always building an event that is last. Because when you do something that lasts, then you're willing to do more partnerships with parents, with companies, with the city of that location, and then your event is gonna grow with time, with time, with time. And also we make partnerships with other clubs in other cities. I make you an example. In Indianapolis, there's a very very big club, and it's a beautiful club. I really love them. The name is Indy Premier. They just recently got MLS Next with another team that I think the name is Hosier.
Mm.
They mix each other, so now they have like 5,000 kids. It's a very big academy. We made a partnership with them 3 years ago, and we are organizing more events together. We are having a beautiful relationship with both companies, and then we are maybe planning to organize a tournament in the future. So everything that Juventus is trying to do, it needs to do for a long term, for the future. It's like the academy. Juventus, as you can see, you put Juventus Academy in Google, United States, and you can just find 6 or 7 academies. You put, and I'm not talking about this academy at all. I think it's amazing. But if you go and you put maybe Barcelona, you have 30, 40 academies in United States. Maybe another brand. For Juventus, we want maybe less, but that last with quality. And for Juventus, it's important the family because has been the same club managed by the same people from the past 130 years. So it's not like if you have a bunch of money and you want to invest and open an academy of Juventus, you're gonna email them and they're gonna give you the opportunity to develop this program. It's about if we know you, if we are family, what is your background? They are very strict about
It's
that.
interesting, and I totally agree. I think that you need to think about the future because when we first started Select Generation, I was just thinking about like the next month. Like we would run an event, we would finish the event. Okay, let's go to a new city, let's do something cool, and then you start to build, and you realize like like I missed out on an opportunity because I didn't think about it. So now we're like, okay, what about the following year? What about in 2 years, 3 years? Do we have like a 5-year goal, a 10-year goal? I don't think it's smart to have like maybe a 10 or 20-year goal because there's, like we said earlier, there's so many things that can change. But I really think that thinking ahead to like the future, like I know some like even like colleges now that are still looking for players for next year and they're not really planning like that far ahead. And I think for us as an agency, kind of similar to Juventus, you really need to think about the players and the future, because if you don't have a plan and a strategy for the future, you're going to miss opportunities or you're going to do them badly because they're going to be rushed. And I wanted to ask you, like, what's been your biggest challenge at Juventus? Like, what's something that maybe there was a big problem that you had? Maybe it's like every day there's something that you're working towards trying to overcome. Is there anything from your experience with Juventus or just soccer in general that has been a challenge?
Regarding the events or the business part, I will say when you go maybe to a new city, and that is something that we are struggling sometimes. When you go to a new city, you try to organize something like a camp, a clinic, a tournament, and then you start trying to talk with some academies or some local clubs or companies of sports in that location. They don't trust you very much, but not because you're Juventus. It's because they think that you are going to steal the players to them.
I get that a lot.
And we are never going to steal a player from nobody because first, we're not trying to open an academy. And second, we have values, and I think we have a very strong brand that we don't need to go and take nobody from you. It's not the way we act. And I will say regarding the academy here in Miami, I think the most challenging thing are the parents
Why?
because they put so much pressure on the kids.
Do you mean challenging in terms of like they're always asking you need to fix things, or they're
Correct.
just really?
You need to fix this, or you need maybe to check how we can improve the team. I don't know. They lost.
They're just always complaining.
Yeah, they lost 2-0, and the next game they won 3-1. But I would love if they can win
How
both
do you deal
teams
with
together.
How do you deal with parents?
Well, because the public relationship and my background, I always willing to talk very well with parents and explain the methodology, but obviously it's exhausting at certain point every day trying to explain the methodology, the pathway of the player. But if you choose this career, you need to do it every day and you need to fight for it every day. If you need to repeat it 3,000 times, you need to repeat it 3,000 times. But I would love to try to see the parents relax a little bit more.
Do you find that parents change their behaviors when the kids? So the kids at the camps or that you're working with or the academy, how old are they? How old are the kids?
It depends.
The youngest to the oldest.
From 7, I will say the youngest 5 years old.
Okay.
I will say until 17, 18 years old.
So do you find that parents at 5 are very different at 18, or how does like the parents' behavior change as
They
they
are
get
a little
older?
bit different. The parent that is, has a kid of 17 years old, he's more worried about the college situation, and obviously they want the kids very, be very competitive, and they ask a lot about playing time because they want to show, oh, I am big, I am very good,
Yeah,
shooting,
yeah,
all
yeah.
that stuff. They are very worried about that. Um, when you talk with a parent of a 5 years old, maybe they care more about the results, and they care so much because obviously they see the kid crying, because you have a kid of 5, 6, 7, 8
Yeah.
years old. Obviously when they lose again, they're gonna cry or they're gonna feel bad, but you need to teach them at that moment and show them that life is not easy. Life is like soccer. I always say this is an example. I always say in life is like soccer, because when you are defending, it's because somebody's trying to score a goal. So you need to protect yourself, and you need to know, how to defend, with part I need to go. It's the same in life. When you're in a career, you're in a company, maybe sometimes you need to defend yourself because somebody's trying to make something bad to you. So you need to be, careful about that. And you need to maybe put a low block or whatever, to try to defend yourself. Then there's a moment that you need to attack, you need to score a goal, because you need to approach the opportunity, because the goal is in front of you. So you go there and you go forward without fear, because it's going to be your moment. The same is in life. There's a moment that maybe you are building a beautiful project, and you say, this is the moment I need to go and present it to my boss, and I'm going to do a beautiful presentation, or I'm going to talk with that person. I'm going to build a beautiful partnership with them. It's my moment. I'm going to score a goal. I'm going to win. And there's moments that you just need to have the possession of the ball, and you need to maybe lose time or not lose time. Maybe you need to analyze where to play and how to play, because you need to understand the situation. The same is in life. There are some moments that you need to just relax, don't do anything, just keep going, and then analyze what I need to do, how I need to do it, and with who I need to talk. So when you think about these 3 stages and moments of soccer, when you are attacking, when you're defending, on when you lost or you recover the ball, like the positioning, the transitioning, it's the same in life, absolutely the same. So you need to teach the parents those 3 moments in soccer, and then trying to change these moments in life so they can understand. And they say the kid, you need to fight for it. Life is not easy. You're gonna get better. Tomorrow you have training. Tomorrow you have another game. Let's gonna keep going, and don't care about the result. Today you did a beautiful pass. Oh, beautiful. Today you did a beautiful cross. Like I saw so bad stuff here in Miami. I saw not from our academy, but I saw, for example, a parent. Just to make you an example, a kid won the first place in a tournament, and the other brother, he won the second place. He lost the final. I saw a parent screaming in the kid that won the second place, telling, with the finger, pointing the finger to the other kid, saying, you need to be like your brother. You need to be like your brother. You're a loser. You deserve that. Then, you are his dad, or, his mom, how you can say that to the kid. That's going to cause a trauma in many aspects. In the future, he's going to hate his brother, 100%, for sure. Then he's going to be always accomplished. Then when they do something, when they are successful in life, then they're going to say that you didn't believe in them. They're going to have a fight with you. There's so many stuff that you can cause in a kid that you don't have an idea.
Yeah.
So I always think that you need to be careful the way you're communicating with the kids. And like I say, the most important thing for soccer, in a business, also the sports in general, is the charisma, is to be charming. And is caring about people.
Yeah, I've got two more questions for you. The first one, Jesus, is for someone that's interested in getting involved, because there's a lot of people who listen to this too that are like they're not playing, kind of similar to ourselves, like they're not good enough to play and they want to get involved in the business side of soccer. Being an entrepreneur in soccer, what advice do you have for someone that wants to start a business in football?
I will say, be different, be absolutely different. And that doesn't mean bringing the best training with the best coaches in the world. It's just being different. Treat the people different and trying to find holes in the structure. Try to find programs, trying to find agencies, try to find ways to create a company that offers a service that is completely different from the one that is existing. And then treat the people so well that they're never going to forget you. That's the best advice that I could give. And then obviously try to build partnerships. You can grow a lot by yourself, and I think that is not a problem. But then if you have connections, those connections are the one that in the future they're going to help you to take the next step in your life. And here in Miami, you have a lot of connections to do. You have FIFA, you have CONCACAF, you have Juventus, you have Barcelona, you have Miami Rush Kendall, you have a bunch of MLS next teams, you have Inter Miami. Yeah, you have a bunch of connections to do, and then obviously outside United States also.
Absolutely, totally agree. And then lastly, for a player, because most of the audience for this is like 16, 17, they're trying to figure out going to college. From your experience, for players that are successful when they get to 17, 18 and they commit to college or they go on to make it to the pro level, what advice do you have to someone that's 15, 16 that wants to go to college or wants to be a pro footballer? How do they get there?
I will say try to be every day 1% better. 1%. Don't try to be 100% from one day to another one. Just 1%. Try to work on you. Try to work not just in your physical part, not just in your soccer skills. Try to work in your emotional control. Be smart. Because if you are good here, then you're going to be good using your legs to run and play soccer. The best advice that I can give you is be emotional smart. Control your emotions. Don't stress and keep doing every day 1% better. And then when you are trying to get a team or then you're trying to do a scholarship in a college, try to do it with the right people. And then I assure you, you're going to have a very successful career.
Absolutely, Jesus, top man. Good episode, guys. I hope you enjoyed that. We'll obviously tag Jesus Instagram if you guys have anything that you learned, you thought was good, cool, you're interested, or you have some questions. We'll tag his Instagram. But yeah, good episode. Appreciate your time.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thank you.